All right, I was going to wait to have this whole professional setup, but I'm like, you know what? I have a lot to say and I feel really passionate and I just want to start talking. And the things I'm going to talk about today are basically this concept of weight in relation mostly to women. I know that weight and weight gain affects men too, but the pressure I think is much stronger for women to be skinny. And in relation to that phenomenon, the phenomenon of Ozempic and so many people being on this GLP-1 and other GLP-1s. And, you know, as a woman whose body is constantly shifting and changing, but who's currently in perimenopause and is dealing with weight gain after being used to being pretty thin my whole life. Although I dealt with weight issues, I was really thin my whole life. And yeah, and my body changing and the struggle with your body changing, and then the outside influence of and pressure to be skinny and to be thin and to have a certain kind of body and to wear certain kind of clothes, and the stereotypes about women who are curvier and women who are skinnier. Weight is related to wealth. It's related to this concept of self-control. It's related to fame a lot of times. Like, most famous people are rail thin, so there is this pressure in society to be skinny. And actually, in my opinion, that's like the first level of brainwash. Like, you must be skinny, skinny is beautiful. The skinnier you are, the more valuable you are, the more wealthy you are, the more you exude a certain amount of privilege and chicness and femininity. And so that's the first level of brainwash. And then the second one is you got to go on this drug. And then the drug, and this is all the research I did, I am sure that there's a lot of physical reactions to doing GLP-1s, or there's a lot of side effects, physical ones, and things I probably don't even know about. But what the research that I've been doing is on the side effects that are actually to your mental health and your spiritual and emotional health. And that's what I'm going to get into today. Before I get into that, I want to say that for extreme obesity and for serious alcoholism or drug addiction, I think a GLP-1 is truly a miracle. And I'm not here to judge anyone for taking GLP-1s to lose weight, because I do understand that for some people, it's to save their lives because they are very overweight and they need that intervention. And for others, it might just be that they are, overweight in a way that affects their bones and their muscles, and they need something to help control their appetite and to help them lose weight for their health. So there is no judgment. That's the first thing. But a lot of people are on GLP-1s because they're in a situation like mine, where maybe they've been thin most of their lives and they're going through hormonal changes and their body is overweight. And it's not a alarming amount, but they just don't look as thin as they once did, because our bodies naturally change throughout our lives, but especially when in our 40s. And so, they're doing it to lose the weight so they can be, by Hollywood standards, thin, like thin in a way that looks good on Instagram photos, or you could wear size 2 clothing, and there's an appeal to do that. And for those people, this is more, and I could be in that category where, like, I've gained a certain amount of weight and there's this draw to do Ozempic, and why wouldn't I do it? And the reason why I wouldn't is because based on the studies I've done on what it does to your mental health and how it affects the mind, I think that it's a very, very dangerous drug. And I think that it turns people kind of into robots. We're disconnected from ourselves and unable to decipher what's good or what's bad. Um, and I'll explain to you why. So, the way that Ozempic works is not just like by making you not as hungry because like you're fuller in your stomach. The way that Ozempic works is it actually what it does, it blocks the stimulation that happens in your mind when you eat something delicious. So when you eat something delicious, like that sensation, the goodness of that taste triggers the dopamine receptors in your mind, and the dopamine comes out. And so there's an actual chemical that's making you motivated to eat more. It's literally dopamine is a plays a huge role in motivation, reinforcement, learning, and the feeling of wanting, desiring. So it makes you not desire food. Like in a mental way, it literally blocks the dopamine so that you lose that desire. And what they're finding since people have been on Ozempic and what they're terming as Ozempic divorce is that in patients who take Ozempic, the rates of divorce have increased. And it hasn't been studied thoroughly enough to even give statistics, but there has been, and this has been published in Psychology Today by Thomas Rutledge. And basically they're noticing that there's a trend happening where people who will go on Ozempic get divorced shortly after, maybe like a year or two after. And you could say because maybe that person got super skinny and they're hot suddenly and their options opened, and so now they see other options. But oftentimes it's in couples who both of them are on Ozempic, like both of them use it and lose a lot of weight. So the argument doesn't really like make sense, and there could be a lot of other factors. I'm not denying it, but they believe they're starting to do a lot more research that maybe the dopamine, and not maybe, for sure, the dopamine isn't just related to food, but it's dopamine that makes you want to gamble or makes you want to have sex. Like, so a lot of people, they report that they lose their sex drive when they go on Ozempic because that the dopamine, the pleasure of the wanting and the desire and the motivation you have is quieted. It's silenced. So you don't have it anymore. So basically you'll be in a relationship and like every relationship, there's good parts and there are bad parts. Your partner is annoying sometimes, smelly, I don't know, takes up space, uses too much of the closet space, whatever annoys you about them. But because we have the pleasure that they also give us by, affection and sex and, you know, attention, the pleasure we get from all of that and the motivation it gives us dies down. So without that, like all we probably experience about that person is we experience the annoying things, and so we lose that motivation, we lose that desire. And the question is like, does it make us lose that motivation and that wanting and the desire for other things that bring that pleasure in our life, connections, friendships, love, relationships? So it's like maybe you're skinny, but you're unable to experience love like you could before. So is it worth it? Because losing the weight is that so you're accepted and you're loved and you're praised, but like you are unable to receive the pleasure that you once got from having those things. So, is it worth it? And in a sense of mind control, you ask yourself, well, if the lack of dopamine makes me lose the the motivation to go after something or the satisfaction of something, does it also make me lose the does it do the opposite? Like when I am disgusted or averted from something, does it water down my ability to be, you know, to be turned off by something as well? Um, and so basically, you know, without that dopamine, you're flattening, you're watering down your ability to react to things, your body's, your mind's natural way to get that sensation of good, like this is pleasure, this feels good, or no, this feels bad. And so by flattening that, do people who are on Ozempic after a long period of time, do they lose that ability to distinguish, you know? And so, like everything that they see, whether it's good or it's bad, they just, they're flat, you know? They're not unable to go up or down with it. They're just kind of like neutral. And so by doing that to our mind, and by pushing, one, the narrative that we have to be skinny, and then two, the narrative that you need to take this drug to be skinny, is it a form of mind control to make us not be able to distinguish between pleasure and pain? Do you know what I'm saying? And so now when we see these disgusting, gruesome images that are just so normalized, or just on TikTok, on music videos, on concerts of people covered with, you know, they gruesome in gruesome ways, and people hurting themselves, and are like, are we just, and all the true crime, and it's like, are we just becoming zombies, you know, that can't even react to these things anymore because we're flattened, like our reactivity is flattened? And is that what they want? And this is why for a little bit of weight loss, or even a lot, so that society could be like, oh my god, you're just so skinny and you're so amazing, that like I'm willing to sacrifice myself, my pleasure, my joy, my, you know, and that's why I'm so against it, you know? That's why I won't do it. Like you can't, you know, bully me into, one, being this ideal weight that you impose on me, and then two, telling me, oh, you have to go on a drug, you have to shoot up a drug into your body so that, you know, you look a certain way. So look, these are the things I'm reading, these are the things I'm researching. This is so new, so we really do not know what effects it's going to have. And again, I'm not even talking about the physical stuff, because there's doctors and you know, scientists researching on that, and I bet there's a lot already, you know, published about that. I'm just talking about the mental stuff. Like it seems too good to be true, and when it is, you have to do the research, and you have to look at what's happening, and what's happening to people. Like, you know, people are saying they're losing their motivation to have sex, they're losing their motivation to be with their partners. You have to look into that, because that says something important. And it's like, you have to ask yourself, am I willing to sacrifice the natural gifts I have, this beautiful gift for me to decipher between pleasure and pain, for me to eat something that's good, or good for my body, and it gives me joy, and then to see something gruesome and to say, that's gruesome, that's not okay, you know, do I want to give that up? Is it worth it? And I believe it's not. So, you know, this is why I just want to talk about these things, and, you know, especially, again, talk about the pressure for women to be skinny, talk about the ways that our bodies change, and just have open dialogue about these things, because I feel like we just aren't talking about it, and having communities discussing like healthy ways to take care of your body through all the stages, and healthy ways to experience your body through all the stages. So that's really, what those are the topics I want to talk about. Those aren't the only topics I want to talk about, but that's some of the stuff. But everything is all related. I want to talk about clothes and how to dress for your body. And that's a whole nother topic about how the clothing industry, especially the modern clothing industry, how the way that they design clothes is literally not designed for a woman's body. So you think something is wrong with your body. You don't realize that there's something wrong with the industry. Like, the clothes aren't made, literally not made for your body type. And not considering your curves, your natural curvatures of your body. And I shop vintage and I sell vintage, and so many of the women who buy clothes from my stores are like, wow, like there's nowhere else that I could buy something that's for a curvier woman, or someone who has like a smaller hip but a smaller waist but bigger thighs, and a normal woman's body. Like, but clothes used to be made more tailored. But now they're not. They're just made in like literally straight, like not to the woman's body type. And so people think there's something wrong with their bodies. So these are all the things I want to talk about. I want to start a podcast. I'm just starting with this. It's going to be called Deeply Shallow, because the whole context of the podcast is that, talking about clothes might seem like something shallow, but actually there's a lot of depth. Talking about weight might seem like something shallow, but there's actually a lot of depth behind these shallow things. And that's really what the podcast or this channel is going to be about. So I hope you guys are going to enjoy this. You get something from this. I would love to hear your experience with your body, how it's changed throughout your lives, your experience with Ozempic, if you've taken it, if you haven't, what if you want to take it, why you are, why you aren't. And yeah, I just want people to share here, and for us to talk about all this stuff. And if there's anything you guys want me to talk about, please share it in the comments. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Bye.